Hello, this is Malorian. We got Once Bitten as well. Of course, it's Once Bitten's channel. I'm here as a guest. By the time you see this, I'll be gone. I'll be in Canada. But right now, we're going to be kind of talking about what happened in the tournament. I know you guys have probably by this time seen our reports, but this is going to be kind of like a recap, our thoughts, and just all the kind of crazy things that happened. So I guess jumping into that, anything else you want to say that we're going to be covering Once Bitten?
No, except I don't think I'm going to remember off the top of my head a lot of the details. Now, keep in mind, we're recording this before we've actually made our battle reports. We wanted to capture maybe our initial impressions of the tournament. In all likelihood, if you watch our channels, you might see the battle reports before you see this. You might actually remember the details of our battle more than we do at the moment. So I'm just throwing that caveat out there.
All right, so I guess we're going to kind of first tackle this kind of game by game, and then we'll go into kind of our MVPs and our worst units and all that fun stuff. But I know for my first game, walking into it, I was going to be up against Tomb Kings, and I mean one of the things that was the two things I was looking forward into this is one, it was a guy that I knew from Warseer, and so of course you don't do much stuff on the forums, but all these people I just couldn't wait to see and be able to talk to them. Two, of course, Tomb Kings is such a great matchup for orcs and goblins. I mean, their beasts can't really handle all the attacks with the weight of attacks. That's how you get past a toughness 8. And of course, with Crumble, you just get in there and destroy them. So both ways. I mean, first it was a great way to start with a ton of victory points. The second part of it there was also this, going to have a great time with a great guy and have a beer after. But yeah, I think the craziest thing I remember from that game is the whole thing where he had a great tactic where he had these little darts of 100 units of, 10 skeletons with a champ in front. They're just supposed to move forward and just tie you up. And the crazy thing that happened there is he had them all lined up against my savages just to feed them one at a time. He was pretty far away. Rolled the charge with all of them, just hoping to get one. Got them all, which meant I got to wipe them all out. So the savage was like, oh, that's great. I'm just going to clean up this flank now. So,
right.
How about your first game?
Well, my first game was against Vampire Counts, and the guy ended up taking second place. He actually played on the winner's table the last game and won, and took second place in the tournament. And the guy who beat him wasn't on the first top table, and kind of leapfrog past him. He's the guy that at Southern Assault I beat at the last game, and he still won the tournament. So we were laughing about that afterwards. But obviously he obviously had a great list, and he was a good general or a good list and a great general because he obviously did very, very, very well. Double Terrorgeist, huge Black Knight bus with, again, I haven't done the battle report, but I want to say it was 5 characters. I mean, it was a Death Star. I mean, 5 vampire counts. Holy cow. But even with that, I felt very confident going into it. I had enough shooting. I felt that I could take care of the Terrorgeist. Not having reviewed the pictures for the battle report, my impression from the game was I had my chance. I had my moment. I got the flank charge that I wanted and just couldn't do it. And, it's like a lot of games. Once it turns a corner, and whatever. So he got a lot of points off me. I got some, not really a whole lot of points off him. So it definitely took pressure off. I think with this many players, once you have one bad game, you're not going to win the tournament. So at that point, I'm not worried about winning the tournament. I know that there were at least 2 other Vampire or Empire players that did very well. So I'm skeptical if I can even win best in race. But at the same time, it takes a lot of pressure off. Like, that's cool. Let's just go enjoy it and see how well we can do.
Yeah, and then a pretty good system there where if you ever lose, they have a bar right there, so you can go straight there. But
yeah. Something
interesting I was wondering that you were talking about with the night bus with all the different characters in it, and of course that's something you kind of course, do quite often with your Bretonnians. Is that making you think like, man, maybe I should be doing my Bretonnians more, and I could really, I don't want to say abuse, but push that idea where you have your lances with just the characters in front and just smash things in, and if you can't kill the characters, I'm just getting a ton of combat miss.
Well, I don't know. I don't think that was his plan. 3 of these characters, they could fly.
Okay.
I think his plan was to hop around with, vampire characters are, they don't play around, so the mobility, I mean, I was really I like that part of the list. I'm like, wow, that would be so much fun. You could fly 3 different guys out, take care of smaller units on their own, clear away chaff and all that. But he was afraid to take them out of the unit because of my shooting.
Okay, yeah. And of course, they have all the great magic, so you just fly over here, whatever spell you want to do. So.
Yeah. So that being said, when they got into combat, I don't know. I mean, again, my recollection was it was nasty, but I was holding them up, stubborn greatswords or whatever. And plus, I'm killing a fair number of models. And then in the counter charge, if I get 5-up ward on my greatswords, all of a sudden you can be as tough as you want. I'm going to save a chunk of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it doesn't make me want to go back to the Bretonnian list necessarily. And I don't love that. I think that build for Bretonnia is competitive. It just gets old. I don't like building uber units, and with Bretonnia, it kind of gets that way when you throw them all in one. So I've done it plenty. I've had fun with it, but for the most part, I'm not dying to go to that.
Fair enough. My game 2, I really hoped with all those points that maybe I could get to table 1, but I mean, there's so many other people that got either 5,000 points or a few points more than me. So I ended up on table 3, which is still pretty awesome. I was up against a Lizardman player, and the best thing I loved looking into this is, first of all, it's a great-looking army. It's just the person I was playing against seemed very nice. And I mean, there's one that's you kind of, for me, whenever I first go into a game, I look at my opponents and see how serious he is. Because especially the first round of a tournament, I always say it can be against anyone. You never know if it'll be against a new player or an experienced one. So if you get lucky, you can just get tons of points first game. Second game is kind of a toss-up. And I thought I got really lucky here because, I mean, this guy just seemed like, like the friendly guy that stops by and all that. So I was really looking forward to it. In the end, he had a double slann. And just the power his slann have. I mean, I keep on saying this story to people, but I had a point where my Blackworks had 2 debuffs on them. His Temple Guard had a buff on them, and I thought, this is my best chance to charge. It's only going to get worse from here.
Was that Ian?
That was Ian, yeah.
He's a local player. He's a very good player. Very, very, very good player.
Yeah, so moral of the story, nice people can still be damn good gamers as well. So.
Yes. And yeah, I think I've noticed that it's probably true everywhere, but I've certainly noticed it locally. The strongest of players are just so nice. I was going to say they're the nicest, but that's not true because everybody's really nice. But just the nicest guys, and they just slap you. So, yeah.
But that's really the big thing to take away from my first game. Our second game. What about your second game?
Well, it's funny because I faced the same list. I faced a Lizardman double slann list. Actually, the first time I faced double slann. Life and Shadow, is that what you had?
Same thing, yeah.
He had like a huge horde of warriors and a huge horde of Temple Guard. And after that, I don't remember because I was so scared of those 2 units. Yeah. I mean, he had salamanders and things like that. Chameleon skinks. Yeah. That was a weird game. I was getting crushed all game long. When it was over, we had the same kill points, but I got all the victory points and special objective points, and he got none. And so I ended up getting twice the number of points he did, something like 3,500. So it ended up being a decent win. Yeah. The first game, as I said, had that turning point. That wasn't insanely bad luck. It just could have gone either way. This game was one of those where my luck was so bad so often that, yeah. One way I enjoy the game is I'm willing to curse the dice gods and throw a fit and say, "Are you kidding me?" And not being a jerk about it, and I laugh and smile. But I kicked a chair. I couldn't believe. Like for instance, my demigriffs put, I don't remember how many, a ton, 15 or more wounds into a slann, and on a 4-up ward he took 2 wounds. And I felt that was unfortunate for Once Bitten. Anyway, and one thing that could have made all those problems for him go away is if he remembered the Lore of Shadow signature ability, or the ability to swap characters. And if he would have taken his Shadow slann out and replaced him with a live slann, 1, he would have fresh wounds, and 2, he could be healing those wounds, and I would have been screwed. And I think he just didn't think to do it. So,
yeah, I think a neat thing about this round here is that you had a bad game, I had a bad game. Anthony from Sustainable Center actually ended up with 0 victory points. He had a really bad game, and so this is really kind of the idea of Team YouTube.
Team YouTube, yeah. Now, in fairness, I had 3,400 points. That's not bad because the max is 5, so it's not a crushing victory. But I was happy enough with it.
Yeah.
So, hey, take that.
Yeah. So, game 3, obviously getting to this, I just really was looking forward to jumping back in. I mean, like I said before, I'm after best Orc and Goblin player. So, where last game I just got 1,200 points, that doesn't cut it. I need another big score. And I was up against Empire, which I was funny because going into this, I was asking for Empire because I don't feel they have good counters what I have in my list. I don't have good things for them to shoot. I have a lot of answers to their stank and all the rest of it. I just want to get in there and kill all the stuff. The problem is that he was a buddy of yours, and he just played so defensively and so carefully that I could barely get any points at all. And at the end, I ended up winning, but because of the way he played, he's not one of the guys just like walk up. Sure, we'll shoot, but we're walking at the same time. So in the end, it's not like I scored 4,000 whatever victory points. I think I just got around 3,000 type thing, which was okay, and I won. But overall, I mean, it's just one of those things where if you come to a game like this where it's based off victory points, if you play against someone like that who is playing more defensively, it's tough to get those big scores.
How many points did he get roughly?
He got around 2,500.
Okay, so yeah, I would say that opponent is one of my best friends in Warhammer and one of the craftiest players. I mean, just a really, really good tactical general.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say the best because I can't think. Nobody comes to mind where I'm thinking, give them an army and they just mess around. I mean, present company excluded, of course. Yeah, I was kind of bummed I couldn't watch that game. That was kind of cool that you got the matchup. And what's really cool is when you were matching up with him. And by the way, he's been on my channel, and Malorian probably doesn't remember it, but Malorian's actually commented on, "Hey, I really like the way this guy plays." Now, this was like a year and a half, 2 years ago, so he remembers
Once you
that.
said it, I remembered it to me. But
yeah, he's a very good player. Used to play Ogres in 7th and plays Empire. And great player. So it was cool, too, because not only did these two play, but I got matched up with Anthony from Sustainable Center, and both of us were very excited. This is really cool. He had, he had his Warriors of Chaos with the Demon Prince and 2 Chimeras and 2 units as 4 Skull Crushers and 30 Habit. I mean, I'm looking at the board like, take half of it off and you'll probably still win. I don't know how to counter this stuff. That was a game, though, that my big plan was I need to get his Demon Prince in with my general who has Van Horseman's. I need to get in a challenge with him, and then I can take down the Demon Prince, and then I have a chance. And I got that, and it didn't work. And once that corner turned, of course, that corner turned in turn 2.
Yeah.
And it was all she wrote.
Better than turn 1.
Yeah, sure enough. It was all she wrote. It was brutal. Fun game. Anthony's a good guy. It's a great list. I don't know. I think if I played that list 10 times, I might win one. With the list that I had, I don't know how to beat it. And it could be that I just need to open my eyes to a different way to play it and what's available with Empire. I may need a new list. I don't know. But it was brutal. If I killed his Demon Prince, I still have a unit of 30 halberd-wielding frenzied warriors. And that Core Beast thing is freaking awesome. Mm-hmm. And the Skull Crushers. And yeah, he says if I kill the Demon Prince, I've won. I don't think so. I think he could lose Demon Prince turn 1. As long as he didn't fail a bunch of panics right then, I think he'd be just fine. So...
Yeah, it was actually neat because I was looking for you guys after I was on my game and saw you both there, and I thought you were just kind of chatting after your game. So once I said, like, oh, you guys got to play? That's great. So,
yeah, it was a short game. It didn't take that long.
It was one of those games that was going to be great because I'm going to get to see it from your perspective when you make your report and his perspective when he makes his report. And, I mean, those are always fun to watch. So
I'm going to lose in both those perspectives.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
So going into the 4th game, which is now the 2nd day, I was just really pumped because, of course, it's based off of cards, and I saved my 3 best cards for it. The one where I get first turn, I get the Vanguard, and also the one where I can ignore the other person's. And I was up against Vampire counts, and I thought, okay, 2 Terrorgeists, but as long as I shoot those down, I can just basically dominate the game, score some big points again. His Vampire Lord's scary. He had 3 of the... What are the Banshees that are the character one in the unit as well? So a real big point denial thing that I was kind of worried about with that skew list. Right. But I thought, you know what? As long as I kill everything else, I can come back and get that. But man, I mean, the funny thing about this game is about how he played that same card to go first. So I had to play my one that ignored his in order to get first turn. And then after that first turn of shooting, I did nothing to him except for one of my rock levels exploding. So it says, I sacrificed so much for nothing.
That's rough.
And then the big swing in the game came, really, where on the one side, I forgot that the Vargeist count as vampires and can fly. So whereas I thought I had them blocked, they were able to pass their frenzy test, fly over my savages, and then from that point, I lost all my war machines. And then all of a sudden, he was dominating the range game, and I had to go and engage him. So really didn't go the way I thought, but in the end, I was able to eke out a win. But again, I mean, not massive points. Again, because he was kind of staying back while he was taking out my war machines and stuff. But at least it was another win.
Yeah. So my game 4 was against a Beastman player, and actually a fan of my channel, which I always think that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So he shows up with a Beastman list with my Doom Bull. I'm like, no, you can't pull that on me. That's my Doom Bull. And of course, I've got this horde of great swords, horde of halberdiers. I'm like, the Doom Bull's like salivating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was interesting. But where he got me, this is the second game, because the game against Lizardman, the luck, I mean, honestly, everybody thinks their luck is bad. I get it. We all have good games and bad games. But game 2 and 4 of this tournament were the most insanely unlucky things I've ever seen. But anyway, so he starts off with slugtongue, and every unit within 36 inches before the game starts takes, like, on a 4-up, they take D3 wounds, and on a 6-up, they take D6 wounds. And he just rolled between a 4 and a 6, and a lot of 6s all the way down my line, and it really threw my game off too, because I'm like, wow, now I have 1 wound left on my cannon, I have no Hell Blaster, all this stuff is gone. A great guy, and it ended up being a fun game, but he just, he got a very, very solid victory. At the moment, I just don't remember how the points came out, but he won big time. I did not have much left at the end of it, although things did kind of turn around for me, and I did kill the Doom Bull, and that doesn't happen too often. So that was nice.
Yeah, when I first saw the matchup, I thought, oh yeah, he's up against Beastman, you'll be fine. I thought you'll be just killing the Doom Bull with your cannons. But yeah, then I left and came back, and it didn't look so good.
No.
So I guess if nothing else, you could say that as a fan of your channel, you trained him so well, he was able then to beat you.
Awesome. Yeah, and in hindsight too, I played, first off, at this point, for whatever reason, I'm going to blame being tired. I'm making tons of mistakes, not just tactical mistakes. I mean, I have the Hurricane there, and I forget the +1 to hit. And after combat, I remember it. In the next combat, I forget it. Time after time after time. I'll put a 5+ ward and forget to take the 5+ ward. I mean, stupid stuff. Like, what's going on here? And I got frazzled. But that one, I think I did a turn 1. I vanguarded my halberdiers with my characters turn 1, and so I could charge his Doom Bulls. My thinking is getting a challenge with the Gore Bull and the Doom Bull, and just kill them both with Van Horsen's. He had a champion, and so it just went and stopped me, and he just crushed that unit. So I'm getting the Minotaurs all frenzied, like, wow. It's as if I never played Beastman before. I mean, one would think, especially, like, I don't know, I have cannons. Like, maybe it's not the best thing to charge them. Maybe I should, I don't know, hang back and shoot them. It was a poorly played game, but my opponent played well, and he got the good victory out of it.
So I guess going into the last game, I was, out of all the tables, there's table 15, so that's kind of more, like, just barely on the top side of it, the top half. And I was really hoping I could still get best general, and so I could see, or not best general, best orc and goblin player, so I could see the guy a few tables ahead of me. So maybe if I rock this game, I could do great. And the good news is that somehow I got Tomb Kings. The second time I got Tomb Kings, totally avoided Warriors of Chaos. So again, I mean, like I already said, it's amazingly good matchup for me. Again, just like in your game, it's a person that was a fan of my channel, so of course that's always great. We get to talk about it, have lots of laughs. Also, the neat thing about this game is that in the first game is Archon the Black, and this time Caltep. So in all the other games I played with Tomb Kings, they don't seem to like special characters, and all of a sudden now I played against them both. This game here was fairly straightforward, where I just kind of came up and killed the stuff. The only thing that was crazy in this one is this Tomb Guard. They're able to kill, they fight my trolls. All right, I'm going to win. Nope. Beat my trolls. I break, and luckily I get away. Okay, clean them up, Blackworks. Nope. Beats my Blackworks. Luckily I get away. All right.
Like, how does that happen?
I don't know. And then I thought, okay, Night Goblins in the front to hold them up. Next turn, flank them with Savages, they'll crumble. Nope, they're still there. I had to fight. Chariots in the back. Finally, they crumbled at the very end. But man, either way, it was big points at the end. But it was good fun. It was a really good way to end the game. Go grab a beer after and just joke around about our armies and stuff. So
yeah,
your game 5?
Well, my game 5. At this point, my goal is to not take last place in the tournament. I mean, I wasn't,
because you're 6th last right now. I would think someone said, or 5th last.
I don't know. According to the standings, I was about 2/3 of the way down. It doesn't matter. Whatever it was much farther down than I remember ever being. But So I play another Beastman player with my Doom Bowl with slugtongue. Are you freaking kidding me?
What are the odds?
But this one, it was tough because I put my one thing, because now I knew what slugtongue did. I mean, I never played special characters. I didn't know what slugtongue did. So I deployed a little bit differently. I kept some things out of range. Put characters in units, stuff like that. And I was up my shooting such that his Doom Bull couldn't hide from it. So I'm like, okay, now I'm confident that I can kill the Doom Bull. Plus, he put the Doom Bull so far away from everything trying to hide that he wasn't a threat. So I felt confident going in when I saw deployment and stuff that I was probably going to be able to win it. But then his luck, oh my God, all the bad luck I had made up for it. Everything went right. If I needed sixes, I would roll 5 out of 6 sixes. I mean, everything went right. I actually don't like that. I'd rather just have odds. One way or the other, just give me odds. So, he had units panicking off the board. He had a huge Hearthstone. This thing, the thing was like that big, and hid like 4 or 5, I think, spellcasters around it. And he didn't want to come in front of it because I had a Captasis that was going to start charging stuff. I put a Comet. Good luck with that. So he just went, and ended that. So I didn't get 5,000 points. 5,000 is the cap. I think I forget. It was like 47 or 45, whatever I got. But I got killed everything he had. I got every banner he had. You got extra objective points for characters killed. He had a ton of characters. I killed them all. But I don't know how people are getting 5,000 points. I don't know how anybody got more points than what I got, unless something weird, like they had an opponent that had even more banners, or I don't know, whatever. It was fun. I mean, he was a great guy. He took it well. We had a moment when my Hellblaster was shooting at some Ungor raiders, and for the first time ever, I rolled three misfires, blew up, did 30 shots. We didn't even roll the shots at him. Did 30 shots. We're like doing high fives with the tails, cheering. I mean, he had fun. We had fun. It wasn't a really fun game in the sense that all the luck was my way, and it's whatever. It just takes some of it out. But I got a lot of points, so he won. The whipping boy.
Oh yeah.
So the one crushing victory I had was the guy who took last place in the tournament. It was what a miserable showing. I usually do pretty well in tournaments, but not this one.
So with that, I mean, this is the second time in a row he's faced slugtongue, like you said. I know whenever I look at slugtongue, he just seems to be more of an annoyance than anything worthwhile. I mean, sure, there's situations where he's really good, but most of the time, he's just plinking off a few little things. Do you feel that he's worth it? Like, if you were to take Beastman, no?
When I played Beastman, I looked at the special characters just to see, and I didn't, read them and remember. I don't remember details like that. I mean, I just don't care enough. But I remember reading about them. Yeah, I felt like that. Like, first of all, somebody has hordes. Who cares? It didn't help that I didn't, I could have looked at his list and saw that he had slugtongue, but I didn't, and I wasn't really thinking about it. So I had individual characters, but like a detachment of 5, that hurts. But then again, it wasn't that. He was rolling 6s for. He put 6 wounds on my steam tank, which means he had to roll a 6 and then a 6 on the steam tank. Put 2 wounds on a Captasis, and then then I charge you to Ungor Raiders. I kill 1, and they kill him. No, yeah. I wouldn't take slugtongue. I think he'd be the first to admit that slugtongue was amazingly lucky. I was pretty, it's tough. Before the game starts, you're picking up my Hellblaster. I mean, it was rough.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I wouldn't take him. In the second game, the slugtongue did what you would expect him to. He killed, 3 great swords and 2 halberdiers, and he just didn't roll anything.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's more normal. Even at 3,000 points, there's only. Unless you roll amazingly well, you don't do much.
But somebody, I think you were saying, and I haven't checked the math on this, but somebody was saying, if you look at what slugtongue does, you're really only paying about 40 points for that ability. And that being the case, when you're rolling for every enemy unit within 36 inches, instead of looking at the cost of slugtongue, you say, no, he's still a level 2 wizard. So what you're looking at is for the cost of 40 points. Did he get 40 points back? And I would argue that even when he rolled like crap, he killed more than 40 points worth of stuff.
Fair enough. I mean, but there's also what you kill and the effectiveness. So let's say either your detachments of 5 or my Wolf Rider, something like that that's in the list to be a redirector.
Right.
These are usually the things that are being the most affected by slugtongue. But even in the end, you're around your general because it happens at the very beginning. He kills a few, they pass their panic test, and then whether they're 5 or 1, they're still doing their redirection trick.
Yeah, but they're so much easier to kill. Now you cast Vile Tide on them, and instead of doing 1 or 2, you just kill the unit outright. And it is a great psychological benefit because, this has a stank, a Hellblaster, and a cannon. And now it's like, even if you only roll a 4, that's D3 wounds. I start the game with D3 wounds on my stank. That's a big deal.
On the steam tank, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Where it's maybe like more of a situational thing, like even on the war machines, right? Like, sure, if he gets it on the war machine and if he gets the 3 wounds, is gone. But if not, if he just kills 1 or 2 models from the crew, it still activates exactly the same way.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I mean, either way, it's just a fun thing to bring out, I guess, right? Because you never know.
Yeah. I don't know. When I TO tournaments, I always ban special characters because I don't think it's realistic to know what all these special characters do. I like to keep the game simple in tournaments because I feel like I have so much on my mind that, in this tournament, it was a great tournament. I'm not knocking it. It was well run, very creative. But you had scenario rules. You had individual cards that were different for every game, and those were special rules as well as objective points.
Mm-hmm.
You had, again, now you have special characters that you're like, what does that guy do? And, if it's a regular army book, I pretty much know it, and I probably should know. I can't complain if I don't know what the Dark Elf book does, but special characters, I don't know. It gets to the point where there's just so much thrown at you.
So here's something else, too, about kind of the tournament. It was a 3,000-point tournament. Did you like the fact there's 3,000? Like, if you were to take over this event for next year, would you make it a different point value, or do you think 3,000 is pretty good for this type of event?
I love 3,000. I think 3,000 is the sweet spot for Warhammer Fantasy 8th Edition. I love it. How much time do we have per round?
3 hours.
3 hours is perfect. I mean, there was games that were rushed. There was a game I didn't get all 6 turns, but for the most part, it was an adequate amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. Usually, I'm changing my mind a little bit with Purple Sun and the Demon Prince. Thanks, Anthony. But for the most part, the bigger the game, the less Magic affects it. Play a 1,000-point game and somebody gets Dwellers. There's the game. You had we both did the same thing.
Yeah.
3,000 points. They take out a unit. It hurts, but you still have other stuff to play around with. So, what did you think about that?
Well, I think specifically in the game like this or tournament like this, where it's supposed to be so aggressive, right? It's just on victory points. That's a lot better to do with a larger amount of points because then you have more waves to go. It's almost like the same thing as you were saying with Magic, but also with combat, where it's not like, haha, I charged in, okay, the combat went your way, okay, well, there you go. You get the full points and I don't.
Right.
Things can come in waves. You see lots of these epic combats. So I really like the fact that it is 3,000. Hey, I mean, if it was up to me, 4,000, 5,000. I mean, of course, you're not going to get the same number. So I think 3,000 is the upper limit you'll get with that. But yeah, I think it was fantastic.
Yeah, I'd like to explore the idea of what if you did do a larger game, let's say 4,000 points. And I'm real big on, I think games are more fun when you have enough time that it's not too rushed. So, do you rethink a tournament? What if it's a 4 game and you just plan the time accordingly? Like you just give plenty of time for it. You play a game, you have lunch, you play a game, you all go out to the pub together, you show up the next morning, you do the exact same thing. And so it's a 4-game tournament instead of 5. So it's not a GT tournament because you have to have 5. So you never know. But you could actually change it. What if you had a Friday night game? One Friday night game, 2 games Saturday, 2 games Sunday. This tournament's different than most. This is a big event. People are traveling from Canada. People are traveling from. There were people there from Atlanta, from the Northeast. I mean, there's people traveling to be here. It's an event. I think most of them were here for Friday night, and I think for a 1-year event, once a year you can do something like this. I think that's manageable. I mean, I'm just brainstorming. I'm not saying they should do it. I'm saying I think it's conceivable if you like the bigger point games.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the Friday night thing is, I mean, it works great here because it's at a massive game store. But if you're a tournament organizer who's renting out another venue, that's another day of rental.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe you'll run 3 games Friday, 3 games Saturday, and then more on Sunday. Is there like a Grand Master tournament?
Yeah. And you know what? We could make one. And Yeah, I don't
The
know.
Team YouTube Grandmaster Tournament.
That would be awesome. The problem is you live so far away. Like, what are we going to do?
Well, but the once a year thing, like you were saying.
Yeah, it could be that.
Uh,
So, what did you learn? I mean, do you have any takeaways? Did your Warhammer game improve based on this because of this tournament?
I don't know if I could say that my game actually improved. A whole bunch of mixed feelings on a lot of different things. The biggest thing that I brought back for this tournament was the massive amount of war machines. Earlier, especially in 7th, I would take tons. Then 8th came, I took them all out. I played with some now and then, but this, again, just everything in, firing all cylinders. And a big thing I noticed is that my war machines did not very much whatsoever. I mean, there's a times where, yes, it killed off a Hurricanum or one of the 2 Terror guys was able to kill, but it wasn't the devastating presence that I thought it was going to be. So whereas I took 3 Chukkas, 2 Doom Divers, and 2 Rock Lavas, I might just be fine with 1 Doom Diver, 1 Rock Lava, and that can really get what I really needed. So I'm thinking that I need to kind of take that out. That could be all these points going to another unit, but overall, that's that part there. Another thing too is that my level 4 probably needs to be a little bit more secure for whenever something can attack it. Nothing really happened here where it actually died, so that's good, but just looking ahead, that's the way it could have died.
I forgot. Did you give him a ward?
I don't. I cheap out all the time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know you and I disagree, and that's cool. And then that's great. I don't. There shouldn't be just one less. But we have such a pivotal character. When you say that if he dies, I lose, I think it's worth a ward, man. I mean, jeez.
Well, this is the way that I see it, is because there's 2 situations when my shaman's going to get in combat. One, when he's in the bunker, and I figure that if something gets to the bunker, it's not attacking me, it's attacking the night goblins. They're going to break and get run down, so it doesn't matter what he has. The second one is when he's in the front lines, say with the Black Orcs, where I figure that, okay, on the corner, there's only so many attacks he can put against me. I have weapon skill 10, toughness 5, 3 wounds. You'll do some wounds to me, but you probably shouldn't kill me. And then the unit that I'm with is so killy that now I'm probably breaking you, especially if you dedicated a lot of attacks to try and get past this shaman, which is harder to hurt than the Black Orc.
So you give him Fencer's Blades?
Fencer Blades, yeah. And that's it.
Why?
Fencer Blades because it's partially defensive with the weapon skill 10. It's also 1 at least magic weapon in the army. And 2, it works really well because if he's a savage, then he has 3 attacks base. And if I gets off Fists of Gork, he has 6 attacks, which are strength 8. Which is, there's your war boss. So.
Okay, all right. So it gives him a dual purpose, a possibility of a dual purpose. Okay.
Yeah. He had Fists of Gork up when the Demon Prince came in. It didn't work. But...
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is the Demon Prince. Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. You're off the team. Team YouTube, you're out.
Yeah, I should be off the team. Team YouTube ended up being what? What place were you in?
I was 10th. Do you know what Anthony got?
What did Anthony get?
11th. Victory!
Yeah, I got like how many players? Let's say there's probably 65 players. I don't remember. We had a lot drop out. I was probably 50. Yeah. I would be off Team YouTube. That was a bad showing. And again, although I complained about 2 games of bad luck, and they were really bad playing. I'd say some of the worst playing that I've done. Just a lot of dumb mistakes. And I'm not, I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't claim to be, a flawless general.
And I made my mistakes too. I mean, some really dumb ones. And especially what I found is when something really bad happened on my following turn, that's when I made some of these stupid mistakes because I was so focused and angry about that I completely forgot. I mean, in that one case where I talked about the Vargeist coming over, same thing on the right flank. He had some wolves trying to kill off some cheap spear chuckers, so it wasn't that important. But I had it completely in my mind that one spear chucker would move back so that he couldn't make the charge, and then the chariot was going to pivot over so I could be countering him. Just didn't even do it. Just completely forgot, even though it was my plan going into the turn, because I was so frustrated with what was going on the Vargeist side.
Right. So in terms of what I learned, one thing I love about Empire is it works on synergy, and I think that is so cool. And I think when you have an army like that, I don't know. I think that you are just going to lose some games. I mean, some games you just have to get the matchup. So I'm okay with that. I love the synergy. I'm not as adept yet as I need to be at really taking advantage of those those synergies. I think that I'm really stubborn sometimes. Well, I'm stubborn all the time, but I'm really stubborn about my lists. And like my great swords are 36 because that's what I had, and that's what I had painted, and I didn't want to paint anymore. My halberdiers are, I think, 40 for the exact same reason. My demigriffs are 3 for the exact same reason. And I think I realized there's a sweet spot for units and their unit sizes. Demigriffs, and it's no secret, I'm not making this, I'd heard this before, demigriffs is 4. And I agree with that. And demigriffs, that one extra improves the unit by more than, it's 33% extra points, it improves it by more than 33%.
Yeah.
Halberdier, or great swords, unless you're going to use it as a real small unit just to provide stubborn, which I don't like them for that. I think it's go big or go home, and 36 doesn't quite cut it. 40 might. 50 gets to the point where it's a huge point sink, but it would be very effective. It kills me because I want to use great swords because they're one of my favorite models in the game, and I think I actually painted mine well, and I want to use them. But I don't like army lists with too many points in one unit. But it's tough. I mean, I think 36. I think I'm a little bit shy of that sweet spot. Halberdiers, same thing. I think halberdiers need to be 50. And I think it'd be better to take. I like what Dan, the guy you played. He takes 50 halberdiers and then 20 or 25 swordsmen as a detachment. I think that's brilliant. I think that's the way to go. And let your great swords have 2 units of 5 archers for redirectors. Yeah, but anyway, I think I gained some insights into Empire in terms of where units need to be.
Here's something I thought I would bring up too. I mean, we just talked about the difference. You like giving a 4+ ward on your characters. I cheap out. Another big difference between our two lists is that I take almost no. What is it? The upgrades, the banner, the champion, the musician, the command. Yeah. Whereas you just say full command, full command, full command. Is this something you can see changing your list, or is it kind of like, no, that's the way a block should be? Or
no, I don't think it's the way a block should be. I'm laughing because. So can I tell about our game?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we came home from the tournament, and a few hours later, we're like, well, hey, let's play a small game. And Malorian wanted to play High Elves, and so he said, hey, do this. You build me a High Elf list, and I'll build you an Empire list. And so we did that, and we deploy. We're both looking at it, and I think we're both thinking, High Elves don't have a chance.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if I'm just not a good list builder. My default is I do like full command, just because a lot of times I want a champion to take a challenge. I'm used to armies where leadership isn't fantastic, and so I like having the musician just in case tide combats or rallying or something. And I like banners, and with High Elves I like magic banners. But yes, you can get a lot more bodies on the table. So I tend to be one. I don't necessarily think that one of those ways is right or wrong. I think probably both of us need to be more open-minded about when would it be good for some of them. So
fair enough. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, especially now. I mean, it was nice back in the days where a musician was 5 points or whatever the cheap was, and now that everything's 10, it's tough. But I mean, there's been times in that game you gave me a full command. It was like, sweet, I could actually do this Swift Reform, right? I actually get to do these things. And I guess it's also the different army too, where my orcs are just up the table, whereas the High Elves are a little bit more of the finesse and all that. But I mean, that's also a difference in the way we make our lists. But,
yeah, and I think you're just one of those players that you make a list first, like you think it through, and you're like, this is a list. And then really, I think for the most part, you're happy with it. Like it works the way you want it to work. And I just can't seem to do that. I make a list, or maybe, I don't know. I make a list, I play around with it, I find out what works and what doesn't work, and I tweak it, and I tweak it, and I tweak it. And I actually enjoy that. And actually, I get it to where it's working, I'm winning some games, and then I tweak it, because what's the point, So I shouldn't say that, because I think when you see me experience with an army, I get to a point where I'm not changing it as much, because it works for me. If I take Bretonnia, you kind of know what I'm going to take. Beastman towards the end, I've had fun with the Chariot list, but for the most part, you knew what I was going to take. I was going to take a Bunker Minotaur towards my Doom Bull, whatever. So,
yeah. Would this be a good time to talk about our little possible Team YouTube campaign, just to get some ideas out there?
Sure. Yeah, why don't you start?
Okay, I'll start. One of the things we were talking was like, yeah, it was kind of funny having this Team YouTube, having the three of us together. And we thought, hey, why does it have to stop here at Brawler Bash? Why can't we keep going with this? And so one of the ideas that Once Bitten had is, hey, why don't we set up this kind of campaign that integrates all three of us, and it kind of goes on and builds off each other. So something where one person would have a game and it impacts the other game that the other person does. And so it really kind of forces you to interact. Now, of course, there's so many different ways you can do this, and so one of the things we're looking for is, of course, the three of us with to sit down and really try and nail this down, because we want to probably get this going in the next month or two latest. But also, I mean, what do you guys think, right? What would you love to see? What's some different aspects that have worked for you?
Let's get some examples. And now these are only brainstorms. So
Yeah.
one thought was, hey, we all play Bretonnia, so we could actually say we're from certain provinces or whatever, and the list you build has to make sense with that province. And then, like if you have a certain character build and that character dies, you can't bring that build next game. It's not that you can never bring it again, but you have a penalty. Like, no, you lost the character. You don't just show up again. Or maybe whatever magic items that character had are lost until you beat that same army the next time. Like if you lost Orcs and Goblins and that character got killed, the Orcs and Goblins have those items. So go play Orcs and Goblins. When you beat them, then you can have those available again. So that's one idea. Another idea that I just love is making lists for each other. So I see me making a list for Malorian and saying, here's a competitive list. I think this is a competitive list. See if you can win with it. Or here's just a rotten list. This has to be, you have to play this list until you win. Now, every time you lose, you can you can have more points than your opponent or something like that. Like your opponent has to go down in points, and you have to find somebody willing to do that. So you might be, your crappy 2,500 point list might be playing a 2,300 point list just because it's just using all the worst units.
Go Snotling.
Yes, I love that. Now, of course, it's always limited by what models you have and stuff like that. But we could kind of mess with each other that way. Or maybe, the results of the game I have affects Malorian's next game, and it goes around the circle. I think there's a lot that could be done that, it could be fun.
There's also the idea that I had is maybe it'll be in a cycle, say like versus Once Bitten, then it's Sustainable Center, then it's Malorian. What you could do then is, okay, if I win my game, then the next person has to. It'll be one of these things, like whether you can't use this unit, or you have to use this, or maybe it's another where you have to play against this type of army. And what we could actually do is make it interactive with the viewers, post it as comments, and then you guys can just upvote the one you want to see, and then whichever one wins after the first, 24 or 48 hours, that's what the guy has to do next for his game. So, I mean, there's tons of options. It could be very interesting.
I like the way to make I would really like to find a way to make it interactive. Not just interactive among the three of us, but interactive with viewers. People that view things, because there's two different kind of viewers. They're the ones that, I'm going to make a joke. Anyway, there's people that watch it within the first day or three because they really follow the channel. And there's ones that just watch it whenever. That's cool. I mean, do what you want to do. But for those that see it immediately, so there's like, okay, well, you have the opportunity to give feedback, which allows you to participate in it. I like that. Any kind of interactivity like that, I think, would be really cool.
Yeah, because we'd also want to be fast, right? We want to be a thing where, okay, I do this game this month, and then, okay, then you have to prepare, then next month is when the next one is. We almost will have to try and keep it within a few weeks type thing, a couple or two.
I think it needs to be. I think it'd be tough to spin it, to turn everything around every week.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't happen. Yeah.
And especially, with work schedules and stuff. But, maybe it would be more feasible instead of... maybe so that the campaign has an upload every week. You do a game and you upload it so people, if they're interested, can watch that. And mine gets uploaded the next week.
And then Anthony's next week, and just cycle.
Even if I play mine the same week as yours, I just wait for the upload. That way there's a consistency for it. So if people are following the campaign, they get like a weekly update with it. But that's only, one of our games every 3 weeks that it affects.
Yeah. So yeah, all these things are possibilities. We'll have to figure this out. I mean, one of the things that's really missing right now is we haven't talked to Anthony about it. So
I did. I talked to him about it.
oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, he said he was game for anything.
Well,
He didn't offer any ideas, but he doesn't have ideas. He just takes a demon prince.
no.
A little bit jealous once bitten.
Yeah. So so there's that. I guess maybe coming back to the Brawler Bash and all that. Just some kind of final thoughts on it. Do you have any final thoughts on how the tournament went and what you would want to change for next year?
Not really. It's hard to describe how well run this tournament was. I mean, it was impressive. The game store is absolutely huge. I love that they had food and drinks and stuff available right there. Because sometimes when you end a game and you have an hour for lunch, you don't want to go out to eat. It's like I don't have time. I have to pack up my army, and you could just grab whatever. They had a burrito thing outside. And just get a burrito and eat it there and talk with people and hang out. It was really, really well run. The only thing I complained about in my feedback was they had this special thing going on where when you reported your game results. Now, first of all, I'm going to take a time. I'm going to go back a little bit. One thing they did great was they came to your table during your game and gave you your score sheet, as opposed to giving it to you ahead of time for all your games. Because now I'm always digging in this pile of stuff. Where did that go? I can't find it. And everything you needed, anything you needed to remember was on that sheet. I love that. But on there, too, you had to put how many infantry size, how many 25 millimeter or smaller models did you kill, and how many models bigger than that did you kill. So at the end of the game, it takes long. You barely finished in time. You're trying to add up points, figure out objectives, figure out banners. You're doing all this. You're trying to rush to get your scorecard turned in on time. And now you're like, oh, wait. How many models did you kill in my army? I don't know, 150?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw no benefit to it, and it was God. It was one more thing. It was a little bit tedious. So I think a lot of people responded with that, saying, I would rather them not do that.
The other thing, too, I found that was kind of unfair with that one competition is the fact that it's heavily dependent on what your matchups are, right? Over the games, I didn't see any ogres, so obviously I'm not going to get the one that kills those. I mean, the guy that actually won it, they call him like the ogre killer because he wants to play against several ogre players. And of course, each of those games, you're racking up those, right? As opposed to like for the small ones, okay, did you go against Skaven? Did you go against the Night Goblin guy?
Yeah. It really favors people that had one type of opponent. And, with that many games going on, there's going to be a few players that had most of their opponents were ogres or large models, or their opponents were Skaven and Empire and stuff like that. And I don't know who won it if that was the case with them, but it would certainly favor opponents that had one. It would favor players that had one type of opponent for 5 games.
And so I say the counter to that, and what they should probably do then is change it to something like the general killer. And then so you would record down, okay, did you kill the general? What turn? And then they could be using that to see who's the best at trying to kill the general the fastest.
That's
or
a good idea.
like that.
Yeah, that's a real good idea.
Or, like the will breaker, the first one to make your opponent kick a chair or something.
I don't normally kick chairs.
But the guy won a prize, so there you go.
Yes, he did. Cool. All right. Is that good for you?
That's good for me.
All right. Well, that was the fun weekend. Hey, I'm glad you came to town.
It was good to be here, and I'm thinking that I got to come next year because this is really good.
Yeah, that'd be great. Cool. Better you coming here than me going there because it's Canada.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's cold.
Yeah, very.
All right. Take care.